Hello, it's me Jert in a new video, and today I'm here to talk to you about Harlequin from Freak Circus. Before we begin, as you may have noticed, I now have a different voice, and it's my favorite one. It sounds very close to the voice of my father, the best gamer man, who has already uploaded the Spanish version of this video. What do you think about the new voice? I'll be reading your comments. But anyway, we're going to start by changing the order of the events in the video once again, and we'll begin with... Harlequin is a sadodere, a character who gains pleasure by toying with and teasing their love interest, but over time starts to show a cuter and more overly affectionate derriere side. They will lovingly talk down to their love interest, or force them to do humiliating intimate acts because they enjoy the pleasure they get from having control over them and enjoy seeing their reactions. Now let's move on to... Before starting this section, I should say that some of the questions asked on this Tumblr will be mentioned later because they are closely related to Harlequin's lore, so I'll bring them up as I tell this character's story. To Harlequin, what is better, the painful truth or a sweet lie? Harlequin replied, that depends on who I am talking to, though from you. I would not mind a sweet little lie. Do you enjoy getting taken care of too? Harlequin, or which kind of a gestures and actions from MC towards you do you prefer the most, besides spicy times of course? Harlequin replied, being taken care of? What a hilarious question. No, I can't think of anything like that. You can do whatever you want with me, dear one. Say we are having perfectly professional relations. Would you prefer to be praised or degraded? Harlequin replied, I'd much rather humiliate you. Where is that option? What is your answer to the trolley problem? The person tied to the tracks is Pierrot. Harlequin replied, I am not sure what the problem with the trolley is, but if it means I get to run Pierrot over with it, I am in. For those who don't know, the trolley problem is a philosophical thought experiment used to discuss morality, difficult decisions, and the value of human life. The classic situation goes like this. A trolley is out of control. On the main track, there are 5 people tied up who will die if the trolley keeps going. You are standing next to a lever. If you pull the lever, the trolley switches tracks. But on that other track, there is 1 person tied up who would die instead of the 5. So the question appears, should you pull the lever and sacrifice 1 person to save 5? And well, once on my father's channel during a live stream, in a game where this topic came up, we had to choose which Wally we would rather save and which one we wouldn't want to save. This was possible thanks to the voting system during YouTube live streams, where you all voted on which one could be saved. Now that I think about it, we could do something similar with a Freak Circus theme in a live stream on this channel, just to interact with you all for a while. What do you think? But anyway, let's move on to the next question. If the MC were to call you a nickname of your choice for a day or night, what would it be? Harlequin replied, Meu Mestre Gostoso works perfectly. Don't worry, it's just a sweet little nickname in Portuguese. May I take you out for night on the town? Harlequin replied, on the night promises so many things. Are you sure you can handle an invitation like that, dear one? To Harlequin, if you could talk to your younger self, what is one thing you would say? Harlequin replied, I did have to explain to him just how attractive he will be when he grows up, and how to handle all the attention that comes with it. I am very clumsy. If I was around you, how would you handle that? Harlequin replied, oh, don't worry, dear one. I promise I won't take advantage of it. Too much. To Harlequin, have you tried hot pot? What did you think of it? We have all eaten it together before. I love the variety of broths and how spicy they can get. I almost made Pierrot try one of the hottest ones. If Jester hadn't noticed, for those who don't know what a hot pot is, I'll put an image on screen. Now let's move on. Long ago, there were monsters who were condemned by a man to remain imprisoned as entertainment for the circus. While they were confined, love blossomed between a monster named Colombina and another named Pierrot. But there was someone watching them from afar, someone deeply jealous of them. That person was Harlequin, who felt envy because Pierrot had found love. Harlequin wanted Colombina to set her eyes on him, but she refused to fall for his charms. This enraged Harlequin, and since he could not have her love, he used his claws to kill her. This caused Pierrot to develop a deep hatred toward him. The monsters had not eaten in a long time, and since Colombina was already dead, they could not waste the opportunity to eat her before the meat spoiled. So in order to regain their strength and free themselves from captivity, they devoured her. However, this story is not yet complete. There are still more parts left to tell, but that will be for Colombina's video. There is only one thing we must learn from this story. Harlequin discovered that the taste of hatred is sweeter than the taste of love, And so we move into the future, where the monsters manage to escape and punish the man who imprisoned them. They opened their own circus so monsters could live in peace and harmony, while occasionally feeding on a few humans along the way. This story can have many interpretations, and if you have a theory about what might have happened during this period of time, I would love to read it. On my father's channel, some people even said that Harlequin killed Colombina because he was hypnotized by Jester, since by devouring one of their own, they could gain enough strength to escape their cages and the man who imprisoned them. There are many other theories as well, but I'll save them for the Colombina lore video. We can see Harlequin during the bad ending when we are eaten by all the members of the circus, but the first time we truly see him without dying is the day after Pierrot gives us his red ticket, when we run into him handing out flyers and promotional pamphlets to invite people to the circus. He insists that we take a brochure, but we tell him it is not necessary because we already have a ticket. The only way we could have gotten a ticket without visiting the ticket booth is if someone like the ticket taker, who wanders around searching for possible candidates to become foolish attendees, had given it to us. When we mentioned that we had a ticket, Harlequin assumed it was pink, and because of that, he initially believed we were meant to be his food, since that ticket is for people who will either serve as foolish assistants or become food for the circus members. After he asked us about the color of our ticket and whether it was pink, we clarified that our ticket was actually red, which immediately changed the expression on his face. As we saw at the beginning of his lore explanation, he is extremely jealous and cannot tolerate Pierrot finding love while he cannot, so he became envious. Now we had caught his attention because we possessed that red ticket, but he does not want us to be Pierrot's partner. He wants us to be his partner in order to anger Pierrot. Because of this, he offers us a deal to exchange the red ticket for his green one. The tickets basically indicate whether someone is a special guest of the circus. Depending on the color, you belong to someone. If you have a red ticket, you are Pierrot's special guest. If you have a green ticket, you are Harlequin's special guest. I imagine that if you have a cyan ticket, you are the doctor's special guest, and if you have a purple ticket, you are Jester's special guest, though that is only a theory. Before we could negotiate whether to accept or reject the ticket, Pierrot appeared and snatched the green ticket away from Harlequin since we are his special guest. Since Pierrot cannot speak in public, Harlequin takes advantage of this to mock and humiliate him for being unable to talk and unable to say all the unpleasant things Pierrot was surely thinking about him. He even threatens him by saying that he will tell Jester that we were given a red ticket. We take advantage of Pierrot and Harlequin arguing with each other to quietly slip away. And we would not see Harlequin again until later, when he decides to pay us a visit during our work shift. After a customer says she is never coming back to this establishment again, and it seems she will keep that promise in the future, we are visited by Harlequin, who decides to stop by our workplace, the cafe, after following us along our usual route. He orders an iced coffee and takes advantage of the fact that we are alone to ask whether we would finally like to use his green ticket this time. But we promised Pierrot we would use his ticket, so we cannot accept it, although Harlequin continues insisting that it would be far more fun if we used his instead, though he says the reason why is a secret. Unable to convince us, Harlequin decides to give us a small pin, which he personally places on us. While doing so, he says that he will steal us away from Pierrot's hands. Afterwards, he pays for his drink and leaves. We encounter him again later at the green shop, where we discover that he is actually the owner of the store. His act is based on telling the story of the circus, and in reality their own story, through puppets, showing how they were used and mistreated by one particular human, only to later be mistreated by all humans. But as I already said, I'll cover that story in much greater detail when I talk about Colombina. Besides, I already told you part of it near the beginning of this video. After the show ends, Harlequin notices that we came to watch his act, and not only that, but that we are still wearing the pin he gave us at the cafe, which excites him greatly. He becomes extremely affectionate toward us, so much so that he corners us inside the circus tent. Harlequin tells us that red does not suit us, and that we should wear green instead. On top of that, he offers us an apple as proof of his supposed love. This apple is called a love apple, or maçã do amor if we speak Portuguese. However, Pierrot suddenly appears and throws a knife that causes the apple to fall onto the ground. Harlequin apologizes and seems somewhat irritated that Pierrot ruined his plans, so he simply lets us go, and we do not see him again until the following day. At this point, the story can split into two different paths until we eventually reach a moment where the same events occur in the narrative regardless of the choices you made. But since I'm excited to show you what Harlequin looks like when we increase the brightness of the image and when he removes his mask, let's follow that route first. Here we must decide whether or not to eat something that night. In order to discover what lies beneath Harlequin's fabrics, we must choose no. We do not want food that night. On day 2, we will see the foolish assistants handing out flyers while we loudly mention that Pierrot told us about the Harlequins and the fools inside the circus. This is overheard by Harlequin, who apparently had been following us for a while, and he lets us know that he is now aware that Pierrot spoke to us when he was not supposed to, since Pierrot was forbidden from speaking to the audience as part of his act. There is a way to prevent Harlequin from finding this out if we eat food inside the circus the previous day, but let's stay focused. Harlequin realized that we felt guilty for indirectly revealing that Pierrot had spoken to us, so in order to comfort us a little, he said that maybe he would keep the secret. He also became somewhat offended because Pierrot compared Harlequin to a foolish assistant, placing them almost on the same level. After a series of flirtatious exchanges, Harlequin asks if we would like to enter his shop because he found us charming, and so he can show us the secret hidden beneath his clothes and mask. Since this video is about Harlequin and we want to learn more about him, we follow him into a tent that is extremely dark. Harlequin suddenly appears behind us and grabs us, cornering us inside his tent, where he begins staring at us with glowing green eyes shining through the darkness of the shop. If we increase the brightness, we can see Harlequin more clearly, but what we really want is to see him without the mask, which is why all of you came here. So, your wishes are my command. This is what Harlequin looks like without his mask, and we discover that his skin is incredibly dark beneath it, which somewhat connects to his puppet version, whose skin is also extremely dark. Or perhaps they will reveal his true form in more detail in the future. And for those who think increasing the brightness is pointless, well, in the doctor's office, I also turned the brightness all the way up, and we came across this, bloody hanging puppets. So yes, increasing the brightness really does work if you want to see what lies beyond the darkness. Wally Darling and Welcome Home taught me that. During this scene, Harlequin licks us and even bites us, leaving a mark on our skin, while tentacles wrap themselves around our body. And although it seems like this is about to turn into an 18+ anime, Pierrot arrives and stabs Harlequin in the back for biting us, flirting with us, and wrapping us in tentacles. This gives us a huge scare and we run out of the shop. The following question was asked to Harlequin regarding this event on the official Freak Circus Tumblr Harlequin. If there'd been no interruptions in the tent, how far were you planning to take things? And if someone got overwhelmed and asked to stop, would you respect that? Or would you say it's just your nature? I always know exactly when to stop, dear one. There's no fun in pushing someone too far. I much prefer the edge of pleasure and fear, only when I'm the one making you run. We run away and run into Carol, wondering what the hell is going on. We head back home to recover from our trauma, and later that night Pierrot visits us at our house to hug us. He notices the mark Harlequin left on us, so he proposes erasing that mark with one of his own, biting us in the process. We can choose whether or not to allow him to do this. Afterwards, an important choice appears. When he asks, "Can I stay a little longer?" we must refuse so that Harlequin will later come and visit us. At that moment, Harlequin tells us that Pierrot stabbed him around 5 times for biting us, but that it was not enough to kill him. We can also choose to hug him and tell him that we were really worried after seeing Pierrot stab him, which makes Harlequin feel somewhat uncomfortable, but also strangely happy at the same time. Harlequin tells us that he will see us tomorrow, and that then he will show us his true form. The fans asked the following question related to this event. You told the MC that if MC came to see you tomorrow, you would tell MC something. How much would you say? For instance, show your true face to the MC. To Pierrot, you said you. So impatient, I already told you. I will show you when you come find me. By the way, during his visit to our apartment, we can hear his real voice, and it sounds like this.
Tomorrow, if you come chasing after me.
Now that we have reached this point, it is time for me to talk about the other choice and how, if we eat some of the circus food, we end up fainting in front of Pierrot, who, in order to protect us, takes us into his tent. However, he ties us up in case we try to escape while he is not watching. The moment we wake up and Pierrot explains what is happening, he is suddenly called by Jester, who needs him, so he has to leave. But before going, he asks us to please put on a mask and stay completely still so the other circus members will think we are just a prop doll. While Pierrot is away from the tent, Harlequin finds us tied up and immediately realizes it is us despite the mask and despite us pretending to be a prop doll. We can also see that Harlequin's tongue is green in this scene, and he starts dragging his knife across our skin. Depending on whether or not we scream, he will lick our neck afterward. Later, Harlequin decides to free us just to anger Pierrot and make him panic when he realizes we are no longer where he left us. We also run into Carol, and well, it is basically everything I already told you before, so there is no need to go into too much detail. Harlequin can visit us again, and eventually we reach the same point in the story, where, if we let the narrative continue, we will see a post-credit scene in which Jester warns Pierrot that everything he did with us could have consequences and that Pierrot will come after him. And this time, he will not be tamed because his claws are sharper than Jester's. However, Harlequin doubts this statement. Now let's move on to... Harlequin's pin is shaped like a heart, and if we pay attention to Harlequin's decorations, we will notice that his gloves and clothing also reference hearts, so we can assume that this is basically his symbol. Yeah, I know this little community facts section was kind of short, but you already know I prefer to save some information for the 1-hour Harlequin facts video that unlocks at 1,000 likes or 40,000 views. There is one more fact about Harlequin that is a little spicy, so to speak, but I'll tell you about it after the channel sponsor. Roll the video.
This video is sponsored by War of Warships. If you want me to keep talking about favorite male characters, please click the link I left in the description along with my creator link to play War of Warships. It would help me a lot to keep making content, and besides, it's pretty cool to bombard enemy ships. Give it a try.
To Harlequin and Pierrot, what's your thoughts on lingerie? Are you the type to appreciate the sight or rip it right off? It can be amusing at times, but ripping them off is always the best part. Would not you agree? He's the 4th member with the biggest banana, if you know what I mean. Wink wink.